Okay. Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? Good? Okay, cool. I'm Jeff Grossman, and I want to tell you about what we've been doing in 309.1 related to what I call goodie bags. I'll tell you why they're called that, which are also hands-on chemistry experiments that the students can do to complement the lecture course. Just for those of you who don't know about 309.1, it's a GIR. The thesis of 309.1 is that the electronic structure of the atom holds the key to many things, almost everything you need in life. And that if we talk about that and learn those fundamentals through the lens of chemistry, and then we apply those to solids, then we can go all the way up back and forth through the property, structure, processing, and performance axes of engineering all the way to societal impact. So that's kind of the structure of the class. There are some really cool features about this class that, of course, I won't tell you all about, but one I do want to mention is a Why This Matters moment. This has been an absolutely a critical piece of each lecture that I give. I protect this with all my heart, and it is where I spend 4 or 5 minutes of every lecture to tell them why what they just learned has relevance. And the students really like that. But that's not why I'm here today. I'm here today to tell you about another thing we do, and those are the goodie bags. And I took this class over in 2015, so I've taught it 3 times. And when I took it over, I really wanted to have some sort of hands-on component. This is, of course, or not of course, for those of you who don't know, this is a lecture-based class. There is no requirement for a lab component to this class at MIT. But I didn't want that to stop us from having some sort of ability to touch and feel the chemistry that the students are learning. So when you think about sort of, do you have a lecture or a lab? Well, both are, of course, really, really important for learning. The question is, could we do something that's in between? Could we complement a lecture without having to go all the way to the lab? And the reason this word stuck with me is that this was 3.5 years ago now, so my daughter was 6 years old. She had been to something like 4 birthday parties in 2 weeks, and we had 4 bags in the hallway that she brought home from each of these birthday parties, and these are called goodie bags. And they're filled with usually like really, really terrible, cheap toys. Usually Disney characters are involved, or really awful candy. And so my question was, could we do something maybe better with the goodie bag? Could we actually put some chemistry into them and some hands-on experience for the students? Labs are really great. They are challenging to implement. This is an almost 400 student class. They're time-consuming, expensive. You need a lot of space and personnel. The goodie bags, the idea is that these would be just take-home mini experiments that the students could each get individually that would allow them to complement the learning that they're doing with some hands-on component. And it would also allow them to keep on exploring, right? That's part of what I wanted to do, is open up their minds and let them sort of keep on thinking about the material because they had something related to it. And I'll give you an example of that. So I'll give you a couple of examples of the goodie bags, and sort of then I'll tell you sort of how we connect it to the learning. The first one is basically what we're talking about in the class, which is how the early chemists, how they discovered one element, how they differentiated one element from another, right? And basically what people were doing is they were smashing things, burning things, mixing things, breaking things, and seeing how far they could push them into their indivisible, the atoms, right? The elements that they couldn't be divided anymore. And they were discovering things. They were discovering things like metals and classifying them and using reactions to do that. So I give them a bag and I give them some vinegar and a ruler because they got to measure things and weigh things. And I asked them to tell me how they could distinguish between these 5 different strips. One of them looks different, but the other 4 look pretty much the same. And of course, the vinegar is going to react and so forth. One of my favorite aspects of this one is when I got a picture of a team of students dropping vinegar on various metal-looking items in the infinite corridor. I probably shouldn't say that if upper management is listening, but anyway, it didn't smell like vinegar for that long. This is the second goodie bag. We're talking about electronic transitions. We're using the Bohr model. We're learning about this. So why not let them see these transitions? Why not let them understand when a transition happens or when it doesn't by actually seeing it directly? These are pictures that are included in their goodie bags. And so we give them a spectrometer. And we give them some LEDs, and we ask them to look at these different light sources and write down what they measure and talk about it. Now, how is this not just sort of a side thing? Well, the first year we did this, it kind of was. And then we took stock and we realized what we really needed to do was, 2 minutes, was integrate it much more closely with the material. And so we realized, okay, we were giving sheets out that had problems, right? So each goodie bag has a sheet, a problem sheet. It's like a part of their homework. But then what we did in the second year is we connected it to something that they're assessed on, which is their quizzes. That's something they get graded on. And so you can see here, they have to bring the spectrometer to the quiz, and we give them a different LED at the quiz, right? And we ask them questions about that, right? Then they have to look up at the ceiling, and if you look at fluorescent lights, you see right away through your spectrometer why they're so horrible, right? There's huge gaps in the spectrum. And we ask them questions like that, right? So they have to bring these things to class. In crystallography, we had them pre-build crystal structures and bring a pre-built one to class that allowed us to ask questions, right, that were difficult to see if you didn't have a 3D model in front of you, right? So we're really trying to bring this stuff to life. Here's one on defects that I just love. I don't have much time. This is the one, I'll show you this last one. When we get to reactions and dissolution, I talk a lot about ocean chemistry and about calcium carbonate and what's happening in the shells. So let's just give them some ocean chemistry, give them some shells, and actually have them measure things. So we found really cheap scales. We give them some, basically what is vinegar or some kind of very cheap acid that they can mix. And then the thing that I want to tell you is I gave this goodie bag out right before Thanksgiving break. And all these students were really excited to share this with their families, so they get onto planes with bags of white powder and scales. So that was a learning experience. Why did they choose 3091? This is already getting, I would say, why do you choose this class? We want to know, right? How can we make this better? Well, goodie bags are really starting to come up over and over again as one of the reasons. And I just love this one. Link to engineering, parentheses, and goodie bags, of course, right? So if you want to learn more, this is an old display case, but we're going to have a display case with all the goodie bags out there from this past fall. And these 3 people who have been absolutely instrumental in developing these and helping to make them a better and better experience. Jerome and Jimena are TAs, and Laura is the course administrator. Thank you very much.